kinds of stuff going on. I guess I haven't done one of these in a while. So, where do we begin? There was an elderly Chinese woman who got her ass kicked on her way to church by some, random idiot. And, I guess there was a security guard. This was right in front of, a building in New York or something, or, some big city where they have those really tall buildings with security guards at the entrances. And the security guard kind of saw the whole thing. And by the way, this was, really fucking ridiculous. I don't like to call the police, but this is one guy. I hope the police go kick his ass and beat the shit out of him. This guy, he knocked her down. He kicked her a couple times. And I think they said she was in her 60s or 70s. And he's yelling all kinds of things at her. You don't belong here. That kind of stuff. The security guard kind of saw some of this. And as the guy was, as the whatever you want to call him, the assailant was walking away, security guard kind of went and closed the door to the building. And so a lot of people were like, oh, the security guard, he just stood there and watched. He closed the door on this poor woman who needed help, and, he's a bad person, and yeah, he could have gone out there, yeah, he could have helped, but this is kind of the part that I want to talk about, because a lot of people talk shit as if, oh, if I was there, I would have gone out, I would have caught him, I would have whooped his ass, I would have done this, I would have done that. And I know, yeah, maybe a couple people would have done that, but most of the people who are saying that, you're full of shit. Really? It would be nice if you would have. Would have been nice if this guy would have. But this is not a problem with this one guy. This is a big societal problem that we have. And we've seen this a million times, right? Somebody falls on the subway tracks and everyone stands around and pulls their cell phones out instead of trying to help the guy out. We see this all the time, and I think the biggest contributing factor to this is that this is what we're taught to do. This is what we're trained to do, or at least the lack of training, right? So, if somebody's laying on the sidewalk and they're bleeding out, that's a scary situation to be in as an observer, as a bystander, because maybe you don't have any medical experience, maybe you don't know what you're supposed to do, and a lot of people are going to say, yeah, well, you're supposed to, you're supposed to put something on and put pressure on, and well, you only know that because you received a little bit of training. Some of you guys know CPR, or some of you guys know what CPR is in theory. Maybe you never actually had a CPR class, but you've seen it on TV so many times. Because, it always happens. That's training. It's not like, it's not like you went to classes and got certified and everything, but you learned, you have the information. And so what do you do when somebody's being attacked? If you don't have anyone who ever taught you, hey, go stop the fight, go break it up, go protect that person, and especially if you don't know how to fight, that makes that an even scarier proposition. You're not just going to go jump. And, all these other things are going to be looking too, like, well, what's going on? And in this particular case, it might have been obvious, but you have other cases where, maybe there's a fight going on. Someone's getting their ass kicked, but you don't know if maybe the person getting their ass kicked deserved it. Maybe that person just tried to steal the other guy's backpack or something, and he started to defend himself. Well, you don't want to go out there and start, this guy, he almost got his backpack stolen. He's trying to defend himself, and then all of a sudden, all these strangers come up and start beating the crap out of him. You don't want to be, you don't want to be that guy, right? And of course, you don't have to jump to beating the crap out of somebody. You could just, work on breaking the fight up first. And usually, if you try to break a fight up, you'll figure out pretty quick who the instigator is. Because usually the victim is, I don't want to say always. I would say usually the victim is kind of like, yeah, what the fuck, man? Get him off of me. Thank you for helping me. And, not gonna continue the fight. Whereas the instigator might start to try to fight the person who's breaking up the fight. So I don't know. There's little ways to tell. But anyways, this is training. This is things you don't know. And so when you witness a scenario like that, and we do this all the time, right? Like, it doesn't matter if it's it could just be a conversation. It could be a physical altercation. It could be anything, right? It could be, you see a stray dog wandering around, and then you go home. Man, I should have tried to give him some food. I should have checked to see if he had a tag, blah, blah, blah. You're in a discussion with somebody. Oh, man, I should have said this. I should have said that. This is because you don't have that training. So when that situation arises, you don't know what to do in that moment. And you don't always have lots of time to sit and think about, what should I do? Or you just look and say the first thing that comes to mind. Oh, I'm going to do that. And then later you reflect on it and say, oh, maybe that wasn't such a great idea. We all do this. And it's training. What do you do in that situation when you haven't been trained? Now I want to go back to the security guard because he closed the door. This woman was basically lying on the ground outside of the building, and the security guard went and closed the door. Now some people were saying, as if it's his job, he should go out there and protect the woman, but that's not his job. And this is the same misconception people have about the police. The police's job is not there to keep the people safe. The police work for the city. I'm talking about the police, not the sheriff. The police work for the city. Their job is to follow city orders, which is to protect the city and raise revenue. The security guard for the building, his job is to protect the building. His training is to protect the building. And in fact, most security guards, because they're not police, and because we have this other training, which I'll get to in a second, a lot of security guards are trained not to get too involved, but to call the police. Right? So a security officer at a building, his job might be, when somebody walks into the building, tell them, hey, do you have your ID? Do you need to sign in? Do you need us to call somebody to verify that you're allowed into the building? Something like that. That's his job. It's not, if somebody comes in with a team of 10 people with AR-15s, it's not his job to try to physically stand between them and the door. He's not getting paid enough for that. His job is to protect the building, and this fight happened outside of the building. So in order to make sure that those people don't come inside, he closed the door, even though he didn't really lock it. But sometimes all it takes is a closed door to deter somebody. Whatever. Oh, we're getting rickrolled right now. But so that's not his job. And this is where I wanted to go with that, is some other training that we've had, the same thing that they do. And I'm sure most people had this, and you'll get different training from your parents. But the training I always got in school was, don't hit back. Go tell a teacher. I remember this shit because I used to get in little scruffles, little kerfuffles in elementary school. Don't hit back. Go tell a teacher. Right? And I've seen this. I didn't really get into fights in like middle school or high school so much, but I saw a lot of them, and I saw a lot of times somebody gets punched and they try to defend themselves and fight back, and the person who got punched the first time gets in just as much trouble, sometimes expelled. They didn't start to fight. They were just trying to defend themselves. So we're taught, we're trained, we're conditioned not to protect ourselves. Now, like I said, you might have totally different training. One, maybe a different school district, maybe a different state. Maybe your parents taught you how to fight, how to defend yourself, and told you that's what you do. Not only did they teach you how to do it, but they told you that's what you do. Maybe you have that. But that doesn't usually come from school. And probably for liability reasons, right? Because, the school doesn't want to get sued because somebody tried to defend themselves and they did it wrong. But I was just doing what the teacher told me to do. Yeah, no. Right? Especially today. Oh, man. Oh, the teacher said the kids are allowed to fight back. They're instigating violence among the students. Yeah, that wouldn't fly well. And it's the same thing. You call the cops. Somebody's breaking into my house. What do I do? Oh, just stay there. Don't try to get involved. Don't try to defend yourself. Find a place to hide. Why? Because if someone breaks into your house and you go out and try to fight them, because the police tell you, oh yeah, go see if you can fight him. And let's say you're a small 90-pound female, and there's a 300-pound male that just broke into your house, and you go out there and you try to fight him because the police told you to, and you get your head ripped off. Well, that lawsuit is going to say, well, the police told her to go out there and pick a fight with the guy, so her death is the responsibility of the police. No, they pick the safest option for themselves, not for you. I want to say that again. When the government tells you to do anything, whether it's through the police or through the teachers, they are telling you the safest thing that they can tell you, the safest thing for them, not the safest thing for you, not the best thing for you or for your community or anything else. So in the case of the security guard, his training, his instructions, he's probably not armed because a lot of those security guards are, it's mall security. Mall security guards don't have guns. Maybe in the certain neighborhoods, but they usually don't have guns. Maybe they'll have pepper spray. I don't believe they're allowed to arrest people. Probably depends, from state to state. Their job is close the door. If there's a problem outside, close the door. Call the police. Don't get involved. Don't try to stop a gunman. Don't get involved in a fight. That's their training. Yeah, because they also have to reduce liability, right? Imagine a security guard for a building, two total strangers start getting into a fight in the lobby. And he says, well, I'm going to break this up. And then one guy, he breaks up the fight. One guy stops fighting. The other guy starts fighting the security guard. Security guard says, well, hey, I'm going to knock this sucker out. Knocks him out. Now the building's getting sued because they had a security guard who knocked somebody out. Like, that's the way it could go. And so, the building, and this is what's fucked up about the law, too. So the building will say, well, don't get involved in a fight because we don't want any liability. The building could say, if you want to get in a fight, if you want to protect somebody by getting into a fight, you can do that. But at that point, you are no longer acting as our employee. So you have your own liability. That's fair too, but you're basically telling him, oops. Got a call. Nobody important. Block number. A thought that never may have entered his mind, which maybe that's fine, was that he might get sued for everything he has if he gets involved in a fight. Now he's thinking that. So now when a fight breaks out, he knows, well, I can jump in and save this person. But if I do it wrong, I might get sued. I don't know. To me, that's not that big of a threat. What are they going to sue me for, right? I don't have a $50 billion building. It's a little bit different, right? The security guard versus the owners of the building. Probably nobody's going to even try to sue. It's not going to be worth it by the time you're done with attorney's fees, right? But that's not the way the law works. So again, government comes in with all these rules and makes it difficult for people to defend themselves or defend each other. But, that's a lot of it. This liability, all this other bullshit. But it's where do we get our information from? Why are we delegating so much education to the government? What do we do in stressful, intense, violent situations? I don't know. Let's ask the government. Those are the worst people you can ask. Now, of course, if you're the police and you have all this immunity, because, the police are there, they have a dangerous job, they have to make all these decisions, and so they set up a system where anybody can get sued for trying to help somebody so that nobody will help each other. And then they created a system on top of that where the police, because they have to be the ones to help people, are free from immunity, therefore letting them go fucking buck wild and killing as many people as they want. Yeah. Government sucks, but it's not just the rules and the laws and everything. That's kind of the root of it. That's ultimately what the government does, right? It makes rules which affect everything else. So this education that we get in school, the fact that we go to government schools and that they control the curriculum and all these other things, that's all derivative of the laws that the legislators write. And this is leading us to a society where we're not able to help each other. So, stop blaming this security guard. You can blame that fucking racist piece of shit to beat the woman up for being a piece of shit. But don't blame the security guard. Blame the entire system. Look at the entire system that we have. Don't blame this one guy for the decisions that he made. Because he's probably looking back on him right now saying, oh man, I should have done something. We don't know how much he saw. We don't know how much he heard. We don't know if I saw the video a couple times. I heard everything that was said clearly. I think there were even subtitles. When he was standing there, could have been like, what was that? What did he say? He didn't say what I thought he said. No, I don't know. Should I do something? Right? Hindsight is 20/20. That's what we had. Hindsight with video recorders. This guy didn't have all that. And he didn't have the training. And he specifically had training telling him not to do anything. And he's probably right now sitting there thinking like, man, I wish I could have done something to help that woman. And everybody on fucking Twitter and everywhere else is like, oh, the security guard, what a piece of shit. No. Forget about that. Because if you were in that exact situation, I guarantee you whatever fucking heroism you think you would have done, I guarantee you except for like maybe just a couple people, that would have come out completely different. So stop looking at the security guard. Start looking at all these other conditions of our society that shaped this behavior and this environment that we're in. Both that cultivated the original situation that happened, but also the environment of all of the people who were standing around, who saw this, who couldn't do anything because of what they believed they were supposed to do, or the training. Shit broke right there. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Catch you later. Taxation is theft.